Marvel's animated series, What If, lasted for 3 seasons, 25 episodes from 2021 to 2024. And you'd probably assume this show would have been one of Marvel's biggest projects, exploring different fan theories and storylines reimagined in a way that made you look at the universe differently. With episodes like, What If Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? What if Ultron won? What if the Avengers assembled in 1602? Just some of the scenes, not the entire episode. But those are the only episodes I can say I thoroughly enjoyed. Almost every other episode feels like a Captain America spinoff featuring Captain Carter. And I will never understand why Marvel thought making What If the Captain Carter show would make it any more successful. If anything, it made the show less interesting and overall just not a good idea. I haven't seen a single MCU fan be happy about all the screen time she gets, or even her existence post-Endgame. Or at least I'm not. And as much screen time as Captain Carter got, I can make a whole nother video talking about it. But I'd rather talk about what could have been instead of what was. The X-Men and the Fantastic Four. Considering I've talked about these two teams on my channel before and what Marvel could do, let's instead talk about what they have done with them. Marvel had the rights to these characters by the time What If was airing. Yet they were completely absent from the series. Any potential scenarios could have been made up or pulled from the comics. I know an episode I personally would have enjoyed is What If Wolverine joined the Avengers? Wolverine joining the Avengers could have changed the Avengers' dynamic as a team. Instead of Logan being approached by Charles Xavier about the X-Men, maybe sometime after the events of the first Iron Man movie, Nick Fury would approach Logan about the opportunity of the Avengers. His abilities definitely would have made him useful to the first wave of the Avengers, and his nonchalant or standoffish personality would have definitely clashed with the team, which would have been an interesting dynamic. For example, Fury would have convinced Logan to join, but his violent ways of defense would ultimately make him and Steve, or maybe even Tony, bump heads. The events that happened with Loki in the first Avengers film could have been reimagined with Wolverine. Just like Hulk at the time, Wolverine goes against strategy, basically attack first, think later. And with Hulk and Logan teaming up, they could have torn through the main threat no problem. And it would have been a nice way to reimagine the movie. Or in Captain America Civil War, Logan likely would have refused to pick a side, which could have led to conflict and confrontation with both Steve and Tony. And if he was in Avengers Infinity War or Endgame, he likely was one of the few heroes who could successfully take Thanos. And seeing Wolverine fight alongside Captain America in Black Panther and Infinity War would have been the perfect team up. Overall, we didn't see this concept for whatever Marvel's reason was, and we can count on not knowing what Wolverine's potential arcs could have been in this show. The Fantastic Four also would have been a solid and interesting concept to adapt in What If. To see the team interact with the Avengers or Guardians of the Galaxy would have pulled a bigger audience of Marvel fans in. Marvel's audience has wanted to see the Avengers and the Fantastic Four on the same screen for years. And although we'll get this in Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars, it doesn't mean the concept should have been neglected in What If at any time. What if the Fantastic Four were the first heroes in the MCU? Instead of the events of Iron Man happening in 2010, imagine Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm being the first heroes recognized by the public. Their existence alone would have reshaped the cinematic timeline. For instance, the Avengers films could have been reimagined in blending the Avengers and the Fantastic Four stories and villains. Thanos would have been a smaller threat compared to somebody like Doctor Doom. Again, there's a possibility we will see this in Avengers Doomsday. But Doctor Doom being the main villain of the next event has not always been planned. So around season 1 or 2 of What If, this could have been explored. Doctor Doom against the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. Or by season 3, the members of these teams could have fought Kang, exploring a storyline we'll likely never see in the MCU. Other cosmic characters like Galactus or the Silver Surfer could have been introduced through the Fantastic Four arcs. What if Reed Richards created Ultron instead of Tony Stark? He's the smartest man alive, so due to him, Ultron could have been a way bigger threat that couldn't have been solved in one movie. Why this didn't happen, I have no idea. Maybe Marvel thinks Captain Carter was more profitable and interesting. Aside from Ultron, What If never really explored alternate realities, where major villains won or had different motives? What if Thanos didn't want balance in the universe? Instead of believing in control over the universe, Thanos would instead want absolute domination over it. He still collects the Infinity Stones, but instead of wiping out half of life, he reshapes reality to his own perfect perception. While watching over the entire universe, Thanos would enslave it, creating an empire where he has overall power. This is a different take on the Infinity Saga. It would probably make fans hate Thanos more than they already do, but it's a nice way to look at how everything that happened was bad, but it could have been worse. The remaining heroes would have to form some kind of rebellion, similar to the Star Wars Rebel Alliance. It could have been a very interesting fight, Thanos versus Doctor Strange or the Scarlet Witch. Wanda also happens to be a reality warper, meaning she has the possibility of overpowering Thanos. It's the same for Doctor Strange, who could have defeated Thanos, possibly seeking help from Dormammu. Another potential arc. What if Hela ruled Asgard instead of Odin? This concept was already kind of explored in episode 7 of season 2. But instead of Odin ruling the 9 realms, Hela would take the throne, shaping Asgard into a warrior empire, replacing the protector of peace. This would lead to a consistently growing Asgard, with her and her warrior people constantly searching for new realms to rule. As for Thor and Loki, her 2 younger brothers, without Odin's influence, Thor might have become more ruthless, similar to Hela. As far as Loki's role in this reality, he would have also changed. Instead of just being the god of mischief, Loki might have been Hela's strategist, helping her expand Asgard's power. The MCU has been deep diving into the multiverse this saga, but What If didn't fully embrace the possibilities of the multiverse. Fans wanted more stories that felt more alien and way more interesting instead of just remixed MCU plots. And although the MCU has been doing multiverse movies and shows since the saga began, it would have been nice to see the multiverse have expanded throughout What If, because apparently it's a canon universe within the MCU's multiverse. Except it doesn't feel like one at all. Like I said, it just feels like a bunch of badly reimagined MCU stories that we've already seen before. Starting with the Captain Carter overload. I don't know who asked for this much Peggy Carter content, but I pray we find this person and deal with them accordingly. Because all of the Peggy episodes, plots, and arcs completely ruined whatever this show could have been. And although it may sound like I'm just going out of my way to not like Peggy at all, I swear I am just one of the many fans that feel she was forced into the spotlight at the expense of more interesting stories. And I mean really forced into the spotlight, because somehow she made her way into Multiverse of Madness, as if that movie wasn't already hard enough to get through in the first place. And she's officially been announced in the cast of Avengers Doomsday, so I guess we're not done with her yet, or possibly ever. Uninteresting scenarios are another reason What If is not considered a good show. Most episodes of this series felt like fillers instead of interesting and compelling alternate realities, like what a lot of fans were expecting. Happy Hogan saves Christmas or Nebula joins the Nova Corps. Not only are these just bad concepts, but we got more episodes like these over any episodes that actually meant something to the series. And there's already not a lot of episodes that have much meaning, along with their lack of meaning resulted in lack of consequences. What If seasons 1 through 3 never really made any alternate realities or characters' actions feel impactful, unlike the comics where What If stories could be tragic and dark. But the show rarely ever did anything impactful and played it safe the entire time, or released weird episodes like this one. This series had tons of potential from the beginning to the end, but it missed entirely too many opportunities that could have made it legendary. Starting with something like Black Widow's fate. Instead of leaving Natasha's story unsolved after Avengers Endgame, What If could have introduced a variant of Black Widow who joined the main MCU timeline. This would have been a perfect way to bring her back without undoing her sacrifice. And although this wouldn't work in the main MCU timeline, it's fine because this show is an alternate reality where everything is different. What would have happened if Clint threw himself off the cliff instead of Natasha? Marvel struggled with depth and any compelling storytelling, and the reason they fall short in this lane is repetitive storytelling instead of delivering interesting and impactful stories. These alternate realities felt like slight remixes of what we've already seen instead of bold reimagining. Too many episodes lean too much on MCU nostalgia instead of molding new narratives. Marvel also failed to take advantage of the multiverse in this show. The multiverse is supposed to have unlimited possibilities, and considering the show is animated, this should have given them another reason for endless possibilities. Instead, they focused on Captain Carter, the multiverse conqueror. Other series in this field of limitless possibilities take creative risk, but Marvel didn't take full advantage of this at all. What If could have explored different genres, fusing with action, like horror or thrillers, and mixing them, but they played it safe and stayed in the regular MCU tone. If Marvel has any future projects that are related to this, or are in this genre of Marvel at all, it could be great, if they explore bolder concepts, more creative freedom, and real consequences. If they're not willing to do that, they need to put the concept down completely and focus on something else. If you made it this far in the video, you either agree with what I'm saying or you're preparing to write a hate comment. Either way, go ahead, like and subscribe so I can keep pointing out Marvel's mistakes and so you can keep commenting about how much you disagree. Until then, have a wonderful day. Thunderbolts is beginning to restore Marvel's reputation worldwide. There hasn't been a single original film in Phase 5 of the MCU that has received this much positive feedback. In terms of storytelling, main antagonists, and overall production, The movie itself is a masterpiece and will be remembered as one of Marvel's best in the entire timeline, or even the best film in Phase 5.